And one additional bit of information, we just decided who will speak in what order, just for your convenience and understanding. The first person to speak will be Senator Angus King from Maine, who's been leading this. He is co-chair of the United States Senate Arctic Caucus, which he joined with Senator Lisa Murkowski, Republican from Alaska, who will be speaking after him. And after that, it will be Senator Gary Peters. And then after that, it will be Senator Maggie Hassan.
That's for you.
Oh, we've got our fellow parliamentarians in the back there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, we've had a very productive and informative trip to Greenland over the last 3 days. We started up north at Pituffik Space Base. We've been here for the last couple of days meeting with public officials. We just met with the Prime Minister, meeting with the Foreign Minister later this morning, met with parliamentarians, the ICC. So we've had a lot of learning on this trip. I should tell you a little bit about who we are. We're 4 senators from the northern tier of states, Alaska, Michigan, New Hampshire, Maine, all of whom have had a long-term and consistent interest in the Arctic and in Greenland, going back before the recent events. This is my second trip. Lisa Murkowski has been here so many times they think of her as a local. But I think it's important to emphasize that this is not our first foray into the Arctic. In fact, we have been beating the drum for at least 10 years about the strategic importance of the Arctic in terms of global competition, and that there should be an Arctic strategy, and that we should be working with the nations, the Arctic nations, particularly those that are members of NATO, all of whom are members of NATO, to provide security to the high north. So that's the sort of context of our trip. Secondly, I think it's important that part of our message to the Greenlandic people is respect. And respect for the people of Greenland's integrity, their interest in managing their own affairs, their work with the Kingdom of Denmark, and that's an important part of the message that we bring. That many of those, I would say a majority in the United States Congress, as well as our citizens, are very supportive of Greenland. And as I have said repeatedly in the States, if there's a national security interest in Greenland, it does not necessitate acquisition, annexation, invasion, or any other specific control. In order to develop additional national security assets in Greenland, which I think should be the case, all that would have taken was a phone call. It would not take the kind of activity that we've seen over the last several months. I was pleased that the president at Davos took military force off the table, and that we have now entered into a tripartite discussions about the security situation in Greenland and additional partnerships with this country of such huge potential and resilient and magnificent people. So that's the background of our trip. As I say, we've had really excellent meetings. I don't want to disparage any of the meetings that we had, but the 4 of us yesterday took a helicopter trip over the ice sheet, and I have to say that was a lifetime experience for me to see the ice sheet, to see the glaciers, and frankly to see where the glaciers used to be, which is a demonstration of what's happening in terms of climate. This country is one of the epicenters of climate change, and to have had that experience yesterday and fly back into Nuuk into the sunset was one of the most memorable experiences of my life. So we will take some questions, but all 4 of us are going to make make some statements. My name is Angus King, by the way. I'm a United States Senator from Maine. I'm an independent. I caucus with the Democrats, and look forward to working with my colleagues in Washington and with the administration to develop the kind of positive, mutually respectful relationship with Greenland that comity and the rules-based international order requires. So with that, I will turn it over to my colleague from Alaska. I will tell one story. When I first entered the Senate, being from Maine, which we have, for example, the Icelandic company Eimskip has a major facility in Maine. I said to Senator Murkowski one day walking over to the Senate chamber, I would like to be the Arctic senator. And Senator Murkowski immediately replied, no, you can be the assistant Arctic senator. So I will introduce the Arctic senator, Senator Murkowski.
Senator King, thank you. Thank you for that. I am Lisa Murkowski. I'm from the state of Alaska, the state that makes the United States an Arctic nation, and an Arctic nation that I think has just of late come into its own responsibility for the Arctic. This has been a significant CODEL for my colleagues. As has been mentioned, I've been here in Greenland multiple times, but each time is yet another opportunity to better understand not only the region, not only the geography, but the strength and the resilience of the people. As Senator King mentioned, we had a pretty spectacular day yesterday, about a 10 out of a 10 in our opportunity to see the ice cap. But I could not help but look at this land, this massive, raw, ancient land, without thinking about the people who call this land home and who have for generations and thousands of years, and the resilience of the people. And so to those resilient, strong, amazing people who are now feeling threat and fear from our country, your ally, it hurts my heart. It hurts my heart to know of the anxiety and the concern that you and your families face as you feel this time of unsettledness and what that must mean. We've had very good conversations with fellow parliamentarians, as Senator King mentioned, just with the Prime Minister, shortly with Vivian Motzfeldt, your foreign minister. These have all been important because there has not been a single meeting that we have had where it has been suggested that we don't want to have the United States as a friend and an ally. We do not want additional security. What we want is for these discussions about security to be done with us. Nothing about us without us. There is a reason for the name of your security strategy. And it's not just about defense, it's about all aspects of your security. And so recognizing the sovereignty, recognizing the autonomy of the Greenlandic people is something that we have an obligation as your friend and your ally to work towards addressing. There is no relationship, personal, business, or otherwise, that comes easy, that comes without work. In just a few sentences and words, trust that has been built since World War II has been eroded and degraded. We need to work to rebuild that trust. That's why you see members of Congress that are here to remind you that, yes, our president may make certain statements, but we also, as Congress, have a role. We have a system of checks and balances. So how we exercise that, I think, is important for Greenlanders to know as well, whether it is through the power of appropriations and authorizing or not authorizing spending, whether it is the value of exchanges that is so important in understanding one another. Know that your Congress, our Congress, has a role in how we move forward with our friends in Greenland. I will end with one comment. We talk a lot about the transatlantic alliance and what that means from a NATO perspective and how important it is to continue that. I think more of the alliance as being a trans-Arctic alliance and what we as Arctic nations can be doing as we build the strength and security that benefits Greenland, that benefits the Kingdom of Denmark, that benefits Alaska and the United States. There is a shared interest that we must work together towards, and it begins and it ends with constructive, respectful dialogue. And I'll now turn to my colleague, Senator Peters.
Thank you. I'm Gary Peters, Senator from Michigan. This is my first trip to Greenland, and I'll concur with my colleagues. It's been just an amazing trip. Not only a beautiful country, but the people that we've had a chance to meet and get to know have treated us like family, and I believe it is mutual. I mentioned I come from Michigan. I will just say for the record, it's actually colder in Michigan than it is in Greenland here now. So I wanted to escape the cold of Michigan to come north, and it has been a fabulous experience. In Washington, I serve as the ranking member on the Homeland Security Committee. I'm also a member of the Armed Services Committee. So every morning when I wake up, I think about trying to keep the United States and the American people secure. And when we think about security, to me, there are really three core elements that keep us secure. One, we need to have a strong economy. We want to be financially secure. We want a strong military to keep us secure. But the third element is absolutely essential, and that means we have to have friends. You can't just have two of the three. You need all three. You need a strong military, you need a strong economy, and you need friends. And the people of Greenland are our friends. The people of Denmark are our friends. And when you have friends, you respect that relationship, you trust each other, and that's what we have to do as a country. Unfortunately, we have a president that has broken that trust. I think, in a significant way, and we now have to repair it. And that's why the four of us ventured up here for this trip, is to show that we care about the relationship between the people of Greenland and the people of the United States. We consider you friends. We want you to consider us your friend. We know that trust has been stressed, and now it's our opportunity to build that trust once again so that we can continue to have this strong friendship. So this is a first step, one of many steps. But my message to the people of Greenland: know that you have many friends in the United States. In fact, the vast majority of Americans believe that you are indeed our friends, and we need to treat you with the respect and trust that we know each of you deserve. I'll now hand it over to Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire.
Thank you. Well, as Gary said, I'm Maggie Hassan, Senator from New Hampshire. It is also colder in New Hampshire right now than it is in Greenland. First of all, just to the Greenlandic people, to all our hosts here, thank you for your hospitality. It becomes very clear, and this too is my first visit to Greenland, when you get here, how strong, how resilient, how warm, and how creative the people of this wonderful country are. And so we are very grateful for the welcome we've received. I will echo what my colleagues have said. I serve on the Homeland Security Committee as well, and I would analyze what it takes to be a secure nation just the way my colleague Senator Peters just did. But I think it's really important to, for the Greenlandic people to know that I come from a state known for its citizen participation. Some of you may have heard of the first in the nation New Hampshire primary. We are a small but mighty state of 1.4 million people, but we have 400 state representatives at the state level, and that is because we believe that every citizen has a role to play, and we take our civic duty very, very seriously. And what I want you all to know is that from every corner of my state, from every political perspective, including people who are not at all politically aligned with me. What I am hearing is Greenland is our friend. Why would the president say what he is saying? Please, Senator, do everything you can to convey to the people of Greenland that we are friends and we are deeply, deeply concerned and disturbed by what our president has said. I tell you that because I want the people of Greenland to know how my constituents feel and how almost all Americans that we are speaking to feel. But I also tell you that because there's a famous saying in the United States, the most important and difficult political job is that of private citizen. And the citizens of the United States are mobilizing on this issue as well as many others in a way I haven't seen in decades. And they are mobilizing because they understand right now that they need to reach out and they need to create the bonds of friendship and the bonds of freedom that have joined Greenland and the United States now for 80 years. And I will close with this. I'm the daughter of a World War II veteran, as is Senator Peters. My dad taught me that freedom was everything. He survived the Battle of the Bulge. He came back to the United States so grateful for having survived it, but also with a deep understanding of how important freedom is and how important it is that we are all determined to preserve it. And I know you all are too. That's what binds us, and that's why we're going to move forward together, work to repair the trust that has been broken, find new partnerships and new ways of working together so that we can all be strong and free together. Thank you.
I think we have time for a few questions before we meet with the Foreign Minister. Yes, ma'am.
From the New York Times, really nice to see all of you, and thank you for doing this. I think that the Greenlanders have two questions right now in order to find some calm and rebuild the trust. That would be really great to get as clear as possible of an answer to. First of all, what do you know about the negotiations going on right now?
We don't know much except that they have been respectful and that they are focusing on the right issues, which is security. But I think the first, there's only been one or two meetings, so I think it's still very preliminary. But I think the president's change of rhetoric at Davos reflected to some significant extent what we've seen among our constituents and the political atmosphere in the United States, where there was little or no support for this idea that he had. In addition, I think it was important that the allies made it clear that they weren't supportive. So the short answer to your question is I don't really know a great deal about the negotiations, but my understanding is that they've been respectful and so far positive.
Second question.
If I can just add a little to that, because we have had an opportunity to meet with the Prime Minister, and in meetings with other officials here in Greenland, nobody has said that they think that the meetings are not including them in a way that is meaningful. And so we haven't heard anything to the negative, which I think is as important as understanding what may or may not have been said. But it's clear to me that the Greenlanders feel that they have a meaningful seat at the table.
Thank you.
Others?
I have a second
Yes, ma'am.
question,
Yeah,
sorry. Sorry, can you guarantee that the president will not change his mind?
That was one of the first questions we got yesterday. The answer is no. We can only exert our role as a separate and co-equal branch of government, but we can't guarantee what the president may or may not do tomorrow, let alone 2 months from now. On the other hand, we do have some control. Senator Murkowski mentioned through the appropriations process, for example. So the answer is no guarantee, but right now I think our feeling is that the immediate crisis has passed, and these security arrangements that are being discussed, I think, will be fruitful. My frustration is that if the president's concern was national security in the Arctic, those concerns could have been allayed with a phone call to the Greenlandic people, to the Prime Minister and to the Kingdom of Denmark a year ago, or 6 months ago, or 2 months ago. But I wish I could provide a guarantee, but I can't.
Got one more, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, during your stay in Greenland, are there really many Chinese and Russian vessels around the island, according to President Donald Trump?
And that's not true. We've determined that that's not true.
Thank you.
That was one of our questions, and it's not true. And it's also not true that the Greenlandic defense consists mostly of sled dogs. We met yesterday with the Joint Arctic Command, and they have significant resources. And between the Kingdom and Greenland, there's I think $14 billion of national security investment taking place in this country. So the two statements that somehow Chinese and Russians were circling the island, were present in the oceans, our information is that that's not true, and that the security arrangements are very strong and getting stronger. Sir.
Greenlandic Broadcasting Corporation. I have a question for you, Senator Murkowski. Why don't we see more Republican senators express your view and visit Greenland, as you said to us a couple of months ago?
I'm going to encourage all senators, all members of the Congress to visit Greenland to understand better not only Greenland, but again, how this trans-Arctic alliance is so significant to us in the United States. You're asking about specific party. I was with a delegation in Copenhagen just a couple weeks ago. There were a couple Republicans on that visit. There's just a demand on time. We get that. But I will also speak to the fact that there are some members of my party who don't want to be seen as engaging in anything that might be viewed as contrary to President Trump's initiative or desire, and so who may not be speaking out publicly on the issue of Greenland specifically. But I will tell you, I have had more than my share of conversations with fellow Republicans who have said there is a red line when it comes to occupying, owning, controlling, taking over Greenland. Greenland, again, is our friend. They are our ally. We are a NATO partner. We do not take over. We do not invade our NATO allies. And so, while they may not have come out with strong statements, they have made clear to me that to them that is a red line. I'm going to encourage them that they need to be more vocal in reinforcing that, because this should not be a partisan issue. Sovereignty, respect for the sovereignty of another nation, respect for our NATO allies, that should not be Democrat, Republican. It should be just pro-democracy.
Apologies, we do have just time for a few more questions.
Cecily from the Danish Broadcasting Corporation. So Congress is, of course, a very powerful part of the American democracy. But I think as a European right now, there is a sentiment that maybe it can be bypassed by the president. Is that a threat that you take seriously?
Yes. This president has acted unilaterally in a great number of areas. In fact, there are only two major pieces of legislation that have been passed in the first year of his administration. All the rest of the activities of the administration have been largely unilateral. And I believe that the Congress has abdicated its responsibility to be a co-equal branch of government. And this is something that's going to be work through as we work into the remainder of this administration, and particularly we have midterm elections coming up in something like 9 months. I think the people will have something to say about that. The framers of our Constitution very deliberately separated power because of their concern, based upon human nature, that when power is concentrated in one set of hands, it will almost inevitably be abused. And we have been unfortunately living that for some time now, and proving the framers' wisdom day by day. But it's time for, I believe, for the Congress to reassert itself, not necessarily because it disagrees with the President's priority, but because the separation of powers is a fundamental, it's not a bug in our system, it's a fundamental feature of our system, which frankly I believe our Congress has not lived up to that responsibility. But again, the answer to your question is yes.
Keep in mind that the Congress is there, the executive is there, but the judiciary, the judicial branch is extraordinarily important in this regard. And I'll give you a specific case in point that relates directly to the situation here with Greenland. You'll recall prior to the President making the statement as he did in Davos, where he took off the table this notion that there could potentially be a military takeover, military use of force with Greenland. It was the discussion of tariffs, wasn't it? He was going to impose tariffs arbitrarily on those countries that had sent individuals, even if it was just two members of their military, to come to Greenland for what? To provide for additional security. So it was seemingly inconsistent as to why he was imposing them, other than to assert his level of influence. The problem that he has with that is that his ability to exert tariffs in this way has been challenged not only in the Congress, where myself and a good handful of other Republicans challenged that, but more importantly by the courts. And that is in the process of going through the Supreme Court now. As most observers would suggest, it appears that that the administration's assertion of the President's authority in that is not on very sound footing. And so you recognize that we have a role in the Congress, but the judiciary is, you can call them our backstop, or you can call them the next check, but it all comes together when we assert our authority.
Right, and I would just add to that, what doesn't make the news very much is how many of the President's actions have been challenged in court, and how generally the challenges to those actions have resulted in rulings against the President. What has happened a lot is after the President is ruled against, the administration just drops out of the case, and so money starts flowing the way it should again. So I want people to know that it's not just action at the Supreme Court, which I have my disagreements with at times. We all do. That's the nature of our system. But at the lower level federal courts, we are seeing challenges to the President be successful a large percentage of the time.
I'm sorry, we need to wrap it up. We have a very important meeting that we're already running a couple minutes late for with the Foreign Minister.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you all very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Get that program? An email?
Yeah.